West Tennessee podcast, brought to you each week on WUTM 90.3 The Hawk in cooperation with Discovery Park of America, located at 830 Everett Boulevard in Union City. For more information, visit their website at discoveryparkofamerica.com. We invite you to join us next week for Real Foot Forward, a West Tennessee podcast on WUTM award-winning college radio.
WUTM Martin. The following presentation on WUTM has been pre-recorded.
I'm the Earth Shaker, the Earthquaker. Code name, Peacemaker. I cover the whole universe. Saturn, Venus, the moon and Mars. I'm the power in a thunderbolt, the twinkle in all the stars. The original Earth satellite. You can't see me, cause I'm really out of sight. I take care of all the problems in the world. Local, national, international, universal. Even show you how to keep peace with all the girls. Now I take all the chances and never fail. Cause I dine on all the power of space and wash it down with atomic cocktails. Don't despair, I'll be there. Smile, dial, my mind, mine. Love, yeah.
The 1970s, a time when the world was quickly changing. In 1971, the 26th Amendment is passed, lowering the voting age to 18. India and Pakistan enter into full-scale war. The Soviet Union launches the first space station. The NASDAQ index makes its debut. Walt Disney World opens. Ping pong diplomacy, the Pentagon Papers. So many things are happening, including the birth of a new radio station. I'm Brian Thomas, and welcome to this 50th anniversary special of For the Record. On this special episode, I sit down with one of the first WUTM disc jockeys, Mark McCleskey. A lot has happened in McCleskey's life since his time at UT Martin. He shares his history and life experiences on the program today. Welcome to the program, Mark, and let's get started. Tell us who Mark McCleskey is.
I went to Fraser High School, and I graduated in the bottom quartile. I was number 178. I was under 238 out of 328 or something. And I managed to get into school. I managed to pass my ACT, and I went to UT Martin. Like everything else in life, you really don't know it at the time, but you're experiencing the most beautiful thing of your life. It's the teachers, the professors are the best. You know, we were all poor, didn't have any money, but we didn't know it because nobody had any money. And I don't ever remember seeing a TV set. And, you know, you'd go out and hang out with your friends at the fraternity or down at Hillary's, Cadillacs, and I remember being in Hillary's, and it cost 25 cents to get over to where the band was, and I couldn't afford to get over to where the band was. And I worked. I was a freshman for 5 quarters. I was a sophomore for 4 quarters. I was a junior for 3 quarters, and I was a senior for 2 quarters because I kept having to step it up. Because I bought my senior ring when I was a freshman and put 1975 on it, and I needed to make all that match. And I worked all the time. I worked at clothing stores. making $3 an hour maybe. There's one called I think it was called Collegiate, and the Round Table, that's the main one. I worked at the Round Table for a guy named, I remember the guy that owned it, I can't remember his name, but then Art bought it from him, and I worked for him. Art was super special. They both were. And I worked there, and I'd take full-time classes. And then Drew Malone, of the very impressive Malone family of Martin, was a fraternity brother of mine. And my nickname was Chit Chat because of Pi KA, and that was our cheer. And Drew would say, "Hey, Chit Chat, come on, let's go do some plowing and disking." And so I needed the money, and we would plow and disc from 12 midnight to 3 in the morning. I did that, and I lived at the Pike House with all my fraternity brothers. Claiborne Peoples, I don't know if I said this earlier, but Claiborne was my professor, best professor ever. He would coach me on passing the tests, and he worked hard doing that. He's now a circuit court judge in Brownsville, best one that ever was, I'm sure. In the summer times, I would go to Ocean City, Maryland, and be a lifeguard on the beach. I was an ocean lifeguard for 6 summers. And I'd do that in the middle every summer and then come back. In Ocean City, Maryland, there were certain beaches where the prominent people, where all the millionaires lived.
Right.
And I always made sure I was on that beach. And I became the maitre d' of that beach. When these millionaires came over the beach, I would welcome them by name. And they would take me into the families. And most lifeguards would focus more on their daughters, but I spent all my time with the old man. And I would get him in the right spot, and I'd ask him a question. I'd say, "Where'd you get all this money?" And they spent a lot of time telling me how they did it. And I did that for 6 summers, and I came out with 3 keys to success from these millionaires. And if you do these 3 keys, I guarantee you success. I don't care who you are, what education level you are, what race, anything. You do these 3 things, and I guarantee you success. And the 3 keys are, key number 1, you got to want it so bad you can taste it. Key number 2, you got to surround yourself with people that are already where you want to be. They become your mentors. They tell you you're going the right way or the wrong way. And key number 3, you got to work your butt off.
Tell me a little bit about when you were at UT Martin and what you were actually majoring in. How did you end up in it wasn't the communications department at that time. I think it was still part of the English department. But how did you end up going through the radio program?
Well, my minor was communications. So we did have a communications minor in 1971 and 76. And my major was marketing. And as I sent you my resume, so you could probably tell I was pretty much a business guy.
Right.
And I was majoring in marketing, but I couldn't pass accounting. And really my English, and you also had to have a second language. And at that time, my first language was so difficult, I didn't think I could do a second language. So I switched over to what at the time was called law enforcement, because you didn't need a second language with that. And you certainly didn't need accounting that I could not pass because of my dyslexia. And I got to tell you that later in life, probably 14 years later, I started from scratch a finance company. And here I couldn't pass accounting, but I started this finance company, and I was the anchor man on when things went wrong with my finance company, which was all accounting. And by that time, the computers involved. Well, I did the business administration in the beginning, but I never got to any of the real classes because I couldn't pass accounting.
And then out of that, you minored in communications, and you ended up working a little bit at WUTM. I understand.
Well, I worked a whole lot at WUTM. I was like I said to you earlier, I knew I never wanted to be a Wolfman Jack or whoever the big DJs at the time were. But I saw it as an opportunity to promote myself on campus. And I did that. And I won, like I said, I was vice president of the freshman class. I was senator from the School of Business. I was president of the junior class. And I won every one of those elections.
What about in the student government area?
Well, I was rumored to be running for student government president at the time. And that was the big man on campus job. Because there was this guy that worked at the Pacer. I'm not going to mention any names, but that was our local newspaper. And he was doing a muckraking story on me. Went around to all my teachers to try to get them to see if they'd get dirt on me. And as I mentioned earlier, I was a freshman for 5 quarters, and I was a sophomore for 4 quarters. So what happened to me is that I ran for freshman class vice president, won that, and then I ran for senator from the School of Business and won that. So it was my 3rd year. I thought I should run for junior class president. And what he found on me was that I was junior class president, but I was only a sophomore. And so that was kind of that was when Nixon was in trouble, by the way. And so that spoiled my opportunity.
There's a lot of squirrely things going around back in that day, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Well, what about life after WUTM and life after UT Martin?
Well, I graduated in fall of 75. One of those millionaires hired me off the beach. And by the way, in 1976, we were having it was another Great Recession. Mm-hmm. You won't remember it. But in 1976, it was kind of similar to what we had in 2008. It was that serious. They couldn't get a job. And I got my first job off the beach in Ocean City, Maryland. I was selling pinball machines and jukeboxes and coin-operated video games in the state of Maryland. And I was Sefco Distributing, became VP of Sales for that distributorship. That's what I did for 5 years after I graduated from college. And this is so important to me. This is so
Tell me how important it is to you.
Well, when you're an 18, 19-year-old kid and you show up on campus and everything's so big and your life depends on it because it's a building block, and it's so important to do the right thing every time to grow. UT Martin was so important to me. I just loved being there so much. And I didn't really realize it at the time. I know I did love it when I was there. But you just never know how important things are to you until you look back. Kids going to school today don't have what we had then. I feel sorry for them that they don't have that. There was just this UT Martin and the town of Martin just opened their arms up to us and loved us, totally loved us. That's why it's important to me.
Who are some of the folks you can remember from the city of Martin who you interacted with in your time here?
My interactions were really on the UTM campus.
All right.
Like I say, I worked for the Round Table. Ronnie was his name, and he was a beautiful man. I can't remember his last name, and then Art bought it from him. And, Art, he took me in and just gave me everything he had. He gave you your heart. He gave me, all the guidance and well wishes. And his wife's name was Phoebe. Art and Phoebe.
Tell me.
Is Ham Brundage still the mayor of Martin? Randy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my fraternity brother at UT Martin.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we were in at the same time.
And he's been.
We called him. His nickname was Ham.
Here's one thing though. Tell me about the tea room.
Oh man, the tea room. I had you could sign your name. You had a little tab and you'd sign your name. The food was excellent, and the people that owned it, I don't remember their names, but they totally loved us. There really wasn't much that it wouldn't do for you. And I remember that's where I learned to really like ham and cheese omelet. They did a great ham and cheese omelet.
Yeah, the tea room there, and there's another building right out in front of it down on the corner, but this place I know has changed. Across from Gooch over here, well, the communications building is gone. I think they pushed it down in 2019, right before I got here.
Now, Ellington Hall, that's Buford Ellington. He was our governor a long, long time ago. Okay. Well, I work in the field of politics with digital marketing as well as all the aspects. And there's a guy here in Maryland. His name is Paul Ellington. And he's like he's the grandson of Buford Ellington, which is what Ellington Hall is named after. And I actually lived in Ellington Hall.
They have a lot more other buildings and housing and things like that. And over here, the housing that was kind of set up for families across from Gooch on the football field side, I don't think they've had people in that building in a long time. They're putting in a STEM building right over here behind us, well, right where the communications building used to be right there. I do have one more question for you.
Okay.
What advice would you give these young people who are going through UT Martin and will be graduating soon?
Well, that's the big one. Never quit. Number one, never quit. So whatever you start, be a finisher. And remember the 3 keys to success that I talked about earlier. If you apply those 3 keys, you can do anything you want. Want it so bad you can taste it. You got to surround yourself with people who are already there. They become your mentors. They become the ones that tell you you're going the right way, the wrong way. And the fact that they'd even accept you into their community is a good sign. And number 3, you got to work your butt off. Because when you start to do something, you're always going to get knocked down. And the real key to success is getting back up every time. Getting back up every time. And you got to really want it. If you don't really want it so bad you can taste it, you're not going to be able to keep getting back up. So those are my 3. No, that's my advice.
This is the 50th anniversary right here. Was there anything special you'd like to say?
I would like to say thank you to the town of Martin and UTM and WUTM for allowing me the privilege of being there and allowing me the privilege of failing and having an opportunity to get back up again to keep trying. And I feel very blessed. And it's an incredible privilege to have been there at the time that I was there. And thank you.
Our thanks again to Mark McCleskey for joining us on this special 50th anniversary presentation of For the Record. This has been a presentation of WUTM Martin.
WUTM 90.3, The Hawk. Award-winning college radio.